All right, so today I'm going to be going over 3 different computer builds around different budgets. So our first budget is going to be under $700, our second budget is going to be under $1,500, and our third budget is going to be under $2,000. I'm trying to build these with the best possible parts for those price points. All 3 of the builds I'm going to be talking about today will be on my website. I will have a link down the description below for this particular guide post. And I will be trying to list as many alternatives and upgrade options as possible. I'm still working on this list, so you may see it change over the course of the day. But as we go through the builds, I will also be mentioning some possible alternatives and upgrades that you can do for each of these builds. Now, none of these builds are rigid, so if you do want to make any adjustments or changes, or if you need help making some adjustments or changes, maybe the pricing of something has changed or something's not available in your area, you're welcome to leave a comment down below, and I will be happy to try to help you replace a particular part or choose an alternative that fits and suits your needs a little bit more. So I think that's enough blabbering. Let's go ahead and talk about the builds. And the first build we'll talk about is the under $700 build. Now, this hasn't changed all too much from previous years, or from last year specifically. The budget range hasn't really adjusted all too much. A lot of the newer parts are just too expensive to be fitting in here, and there's nothing that really fits, especially with a $100 or so CPU. So we're going with the 5600X as our CPU. You could go with the 5600 as well. They're both really good choices for you. And I prefer upgrading the standard coolers when you go with the 5600. The 5600X doesn't come with a cooler, so you may as well get one that'll last you through whatever CPU you decide to throw at it. The Thermalright Phantom Spirit 120 is a fantastic choice under $50. It will handle almost any CPU that you throw at it for the most part. It does a really good job, and for under $50, you really can't beat that. The motherboard, we're just going to do a B550M. I chose one from MSI that's currently on sale for $90. Now our RAM, I chose some of the Team T4 stuff, basically across the board. They're providing the best performance per dollar across the board for the most part. Now $30 for this RAM kit is really good. 16 gigs, 3600 megahertz, CL18. 16 gigs is going to be a decent amount of RAM for most games right now. Not going to be great for production purposes or productivity purposes. But if you do want to go ahead and upgrade that to the 32 gig kit, you could spend $45 on the CL16 3200 megahertz kit, or $46 for the 3600 megahertz C18 kit. So both, they're all really good pricing. Any of these are a good option, but in terms of our build right now, the 16 gig kit fits within our budget. Now for storage, Team Group also currently has the best value SSD right now. You can get the MP33 2TB for $90. Now there's also a bunch of options here, because you can go for the 1TB, which cuts it down to $50. So if you do really want to stick under the $700 price point, you can go with the $50 1TB and then buy another storage, buy something else for storage later. Because as you can see, our build does go over for $4, and that's really because of the GPU that we see next. So I chose a 6650 XT for $224. This is by no means going to be a fantastic GPU, but at this price point, it's the best that we can grab. If you adjust the pricing around a lot of your other items and you're able to get the rest of the build down to a lower price, you can upgrade to something like the 6750 XT. There is one currently right now for $300 on the dot. So if you could fit this one into your budget, this is going to be a much better option, and I would highly suggest you go for this one. Now for our case, I just chose the Montec Air 100 ARGB case. This is the best case that I could find under $70 that has what I could think is a decent airflow. I've never personally used it, but I've seen some reviews on it. Taking a look at a lot of pictures, it does seem to have pretty good amount of airflow, good amount of space in there. It's got grommets and everything, so it's not going to be a super budget feeling case. And for $60, I think it's a pretty good option. And for our power supply, I chose the MSI Mag 750 watt bronze PSU for $70. I think this is a pretty good option. If you're going to be throwing a bigger GPU, you have to make sure that you match your power supply with the power requirements of your GPU. So you will have to go ahead and kind of base that based off of the GPU that you have. But for this GPU, we're able to use this PSU. and our total build price is $704. Now, as I mentioned, I'm gonna have some alternatives here. The cooler you can replace with a bunch of different Thermalright options. You can also get a AIO if you want to. I'm not a huge fan of AIOs, especially on the lower budget things. They just don't really make a lot of sense to me, but it's entirely up to you if you want to do an AIO. I do have a case list, although I haven't updated that this year. If you guys are interested in me updating it, let me know down in the comments below and I will spend some time. I haven't had a lot of time this year. I've been kind of crunching to do all of the gift guide videos and a whole bunch of other stuff, but if you guys would like some updates on that case list, let me know. And again, if there's anything here that doesn't fit what you need and you would like something else, just let me know down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to try to help you. In terms of upgrades, anything on the AM4 is a possible upgrade path. The 5700X 3D is still going to be a fantastic option. The 5800X 3D is going to be your best gaming CPU on the AM4 platform. It's fantastic. It's a really good option if you can find it and for a good price. If you want to do more productivity style things, the 5900X and the 5950X are going to be better options for you, as those are going to be entirely for production purposes. Now, I have the 5950X. I use it for gaming. I use it for productivity purposes. It's great for me, and it's probably the best AM4 CPU that you can get. Just as a completely overall, it's a little overkill. I got a really good deal on it, which is why I have it. But if you're going to be focusing on gaming, definitely take a look at the 5800X 3D for AM4. Now, for our $1,500 build, I am going with the Ryzen 7 7700X, currently $260, which is a pretty good deal. Keeping the CPU cooler the same as the previous with the Phantom Spirit 120 SE. The motherboard, I'm just going with a 650 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi. You can get the non-Wi-Fi version for $10 less, but it fits within our budget to go that extra $10. And the nice thing about the Wi-Fi motherboards is that they also include built-in Bluetooth, so that if you use Xbox or PlayStation controllers, you don't need to buy a dongle or anything, which is going to be more than $10. And I think it's just worth it for that extra 10 bucks. It's entirely up to you. There's a lot of different motherboard options that you can go with. This is just the best one that I could find within our budget. The RAM, I just upgraded to a different Team Group pair, 32 gigs, DDR5 6000, because now we're going to DDR5, $85 for that. The storage is the same as the previous, the 2 terabyte MP33 from Team Group for $89. And then our GPU, I went with a 7900 GRE, currently $550. It's a pretty good price. Again, with all three of these builds, the GPU is very easily swappable to whatever fits your budget, whatever fits your use case a little bit more. Basically, what I would suggest you do is you build out the rest of the computer first, and then whatever you have left in that budget, you allocate that to a GPU and you get the best GPU that you can afford. Within this budget, this is the best one that I would suggest. It does a really good job. The 7900 GREs are good. Power Color makes some fantastic AMD GPUs, and for $550, it's a good deal. The case we've changed to the Landcool 207. Really, really good case. One of the best cases under $100. They have black and white, and I picked up the white one, I think, here for $80, so I think that's a good choice. And our power supply, I upgraded it to the 850 watt version of the previous PSU, because we needed that extra power for the GRE. So total build comes to $1,329. And again, we have a bunch of options here in terms of alternatives. I'll list more CPUs in terms of alternatives, and in terms of the upgrades, the same thing. The problem right now is that a lot of the CPUs are going out of stock. For example, the 7800 X3D is going in and out of stock. I have it in the $2,000 build. It is a little bit tough, and the pricing is kind of going up and down and just absolutely wild. So I didn't want to put that on here. If I end up finding any good alternatives and good upgrades that are available right now, I will go ahead and populate this. As I mentioned, this whole page is going to change over the course of the weekend, all the way until maybe Tuesday. And again, if there's anything here that doesn't work for you, or it doesn't work at the time that you're watching this video, leave a comment. Go ahead and join the Discord. I'd be happy to help you find an alternative. All right, so for our over $2,000 build, it's going to be a little bit complicated because the CPU market right now is a little bit wild. I would prefer building this with the Zen 5 or Ryzen 9000 series CPUs. Unfortunately, those are being overpriced everywhere or just out of stock. Would have loved to build this with the 9800X3D, which is considered to be the best CPU for gaming by far. But unfortunately, it's being marked over MSRP by $200 to $400. One thing I'm going to suggest, do not buy any CPUs, whether it's AMD or Intel's, for over their MSRP. The CPU that we chose here, the Ryzen 7 7800X3D, $450 at Best Buy, but on places like Amazon, they're trying to sell it for $650. So again, keep in mind what the actual MSRP is of the CPU that you're going to be buying, and make sure that you're not overspending or overpaying for something. Now for our CPU cooler, again, I kept it at the Thermalright Phantom Spirit. You can change that one out for any of the ones I list below. The motherboard, we went for the Gigabyte B650E Aorus Elite, a really good motherboard for $220. The RAM is the same RAM we went with before, the 32 gig DDR5 6000 kit. 32 gigs, if you want to upgrade it, I have one listed below as well. Storage, we kept the same. That 2 terabyte is just a really good deal for under $90, so I'm just going to keep it on everything. And the GPU here, I just went with the least expensive GPU that I would suggest at a budget of over $2,000. There's a lot of flexibility you can do here, and I would suggest you do the same thing that I mentioned before, where you build out the rest of your computer, you kind of figure out how much left you have to spend on a GPU, and then buy a GPU with that. Now, the other thing is that new GPUs are coming early 2025. So if you have an existing GPU that's doing you pretty well, you can also just swap that GPU into this new build, use that for a while, see what the pricing is like once they announce the new GPUs or once those new GPUs release, and then go from there. It's entirely up to you. It's kind of hard to read the future to see if GPU prices that for the GPUs that currently exist are going to go down. But I think that's an option. I'm personally going to be waiting for the new line of GPUs to come up before I buy one. But with all the price increase changes that may happen in the new year, honestly, who knows? We can't read the future. So this Zotac one is a pretty good option at the $1,000 mark. If you do want to buy one now for a 4080 Super, 4080 Supers are just a great idea. And then in the upgrades, I have other ones like the 4090 and the 7900 XTX. There's a lot of options there. Kind of go with whatever suits your needs and suits your budget the most. Now for the case, I went for the Fractal Design North XL. The XL version, $190. This is a beautiful case. It's big. It's got some great airflow. You can also go with the non-XL version. It's just as beautiful. It's got great airflow as well. I just like having bigger cases. They help me work on them a little bit better. I got really thick and chonky hands, but there's a lot of options there too. Still went with the 850 watt power supply from MSI. This has PCIe 5, which is really nice to see. And it's a really good option under $100. So I'm just going to keep it there, but there are other options there for you. Now, again, if you want any help with any alternatives with a build that you currently have and you want to know if it's good or not, with finding a particular upgrade for something, let me know down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to help you out. If you want a little bit more of an interaction, a little bit more of a back and forth, the Discord's also a great option. It's a little bit easier there. You can send screenshots and things like that. The comments are great. Again, this whole list, as well as all of the lists for my gift guides, are going to be on my website. I will have that linked down in the description along with the Discord if you do want to go ahead and hop in there. But with all that said, I really do hope you found this video helpful. And if not, I at least hope you found it interesting. If you did, I'd really appreciate it. If you like, subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can always leave those down in the comment section below. Big thanks to my Patreon sponsors, and big thanks to you for watching the end of this video. If you want to see any of those gift guides I mentioned, you can go ahead and check out the playlist right up here. And as always, stay safe out there. I'll see you next time.